remember I was actually working in the corporate world back in those days, and I had an office where it was on the ground floor, and somebody was coming to visit somebody in the building, and this person walked past the window, and as he walked past, I saw a young child with him, and he walked past my desk, and I said to him, "Oh, who's the little girl with you?" And he said to me, "Oh, that's my sister. She died when she was 5," or whatever the case. So I said, "Oh, okay." And off he went, like it was the most natural thing in the world. There was no message for him. It was just something that I had seen.
Well, hello, folks. Today I am here with Dashy Hudek, who is a transformational coach. And from our conversations and experiencing the stuff she does, she's doing some pretty incredible stuff. So thank you for joining me today, Dashy. Thank you.
And thank you for inviting me, Adam. It's always a delight to speak to you.
Well, likewise. So for people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, as you mentioned, I am a transformational coach, and that can mean many different things to different people. But in the context that I bring it across, it really is about transformation of your inner being. So I suppose a natural question that you potentially would ask me is, so what do you do? And maybe even how do you do it? To simplify that, I'd actually say is I help people find their authentic selves so that they can live life from sovereignty. And I found that I kind of work with two similar but very distinct kind of people. And the one person is that person who just feels too much. And the other person is the absolute opposite, that person who has put so many control measures in life and they've kind of checked out from what they are feeling. So two very distinct kind of people. But the thing that they have in common is there's layers upon layers of conditioning. And really that's what I do. So yes, I use simple science to explain to people what's going on. And then I go through a process to be able to help them undo all those layers, learn some new tools along the way. But the biggest thing for me is it needs to be practical because, well, in this relative space that we call life, people need to have something that they can use that actually works for them. So that's what I do.
It's great. And what sort of problems do people come with you with? What are they experiencing?
Okay, so I think many people that come to me will find that they are quite successful in one area of their life, but there's another area. So, for example, they may find at work everything's great, but the minute that they walk in the door at home, there's a lack of being able to really connect with whoever is with them in their space. And we kind of talk about in the process about the roles that we play and needing to take off caps. And we use those, the word roles, in order to be appropriate. And ideally, we want to be able to get to a place where you take all the caps off and you just are you. And of course, one still needs to be appropriate, but to be less of a role player and just actually be who you are and be comfortable with that. So I guess it's that proverbial peeling an onion and getting to what's inside the core, which could be a surprise, a pleasant one for many people. Yeah.
But you work a lot with intuition. How long have you had that, and
Oh,
what challenges has it given you?
I want to say I was born differently. I was always the outsider, the odd one, which is really what led me to this. I we were having a conversation earlier about I was saying that one becomes an expert at your own life, and really that's kind of what led me to this. So yes, where did the intuition come from? I guess I was born with it. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I was just saying to her, as a child, I have this memory of this voice in the back of my head saying, "Remember who you are." And sort of fast track many, many years later, I had an experience in meditation. And it took me to a previous time. And I now understand that that experience happened in my meditation in order that I could realize that this experience that we call life, there are many such experiences, and they all make up part of our soul journey. So, yes, I use intuition to answer your question. I do.
So are you actually in contact with your spirit guides? Is that part of what you do?
Yes, yes. I think everybody has a sense of how they speak to them, and it's maybe different. Some people hear, some people feel. For me, yes, I started out as it's called being clairsentient, which is quite a difficult one actually, because it's that strong feeling, and you would love to have a sentence or some kind of confirmation. But I suppose as I took off my own layers and I really no, that's a wrong word. Actually, I want to stop on that point. You never reconnect with yourself because you're always connected. That sort of creates the picture of here's Dashy and then there's somebody else next to her. That's not true. We're actually always connected. We just don't realize it. I guess as I picked up my sword and became more of who I already am, so the intuition deepened and the connection became stronger. And so, yes, it's for me at where I'm at now. I need to know something for a client, or sometimes their guides will step in and they speak through me. So, yes, but again, I think you kind of learn that it is something that needs to be controlled as well. So, as and when appropriate. Yeah.
So that must have been interesting growing up and communicating with your family.
Adam, I know this is going to sound rather weird, but I didn't realize that I was any different to, well, other people or the other little girls, I should say, until I was in my mid-teens. And it was quite a shock for me that other people didn't see things the way that I did, or even hear or experience life the way that I did. And then there was a time that I actually completely shut that off because I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to fit in. But I think when you have this side to you, it is just who you are. So, yes, here we are, a good couple of years later. And I fully embrace that now because I know that there are many other people who are also that way, who have that gift, I suppose. But I think that knowing that everybody can actually do and everyone can have this gift, it's just something that one needs to tune into and one wants to be willing to cultivate. Mm.
And do your family know that you have this?
Oh, for sure. My dad, when I was in my early 20s, he used to tease me and he used to say to me I could practice flying on my broomstick up and down the passage. It was quite a family joke. So yeah, I think they completely accept it. But nobody else in the family is like that, which is quite weird. So yeah.
Well, I'd imagine it's quite common because I suppose now that you've got more life experience and awareness of this, that
Mm,
it is a gift. But
yeah.
what I find from speaking with people that have a similar gift is that for a certain point in life, it can be considered a curse, or that telling family they might think you were schizophrenic. I mean, did you have any of those sort of challenges trying to communicate what you did to people that had no idea what it was?
No, not really. I was rather selective with what I did say, and I knew who I could speak to and who not. Although I must say that it was probably only in the last 25 years or so that I really have come out with that, so to speak. And I don't really care what people think because it's just the way that it is. So, yeah.
That sounds like a superpower. How long did it take you in your life to genuinely not care what other people thought or said about you and your gift?
Mm. You know, I guess what we're really talking about here is confidence to be able to speak out and say, well, this is who I am and this is what I do. And I can tell you quite honestly that as you remove those layers of conditioning of what you are not, so that what you are can shine through properly, that has a natural confidence to it because it's your sureness, it's your experience. You are the knower of what happens in your awareness. So, when did it happen? I probably would be lying if I were to say that you there comes a point where you stop growing. So I think it just gets better and better. But certainly, I would say even in the last 10, maybe 5, 10 years, that I've honestly been on my 2 feet and really feel far more solid than I ever have before. That I can, when something comes through, speak about it clearly for the benefit of others. Hmm.
So I guess getting that insight from your spiritual support team as you work with people, knowing when to communicate what's coming through and when not to, I guess is a big part of that, or having, as you say, having the confidence to do that, and that this is possibly an ongoing thing. How do you manage that?
It's not really something that I actually think about, to be very honest with you. Um, it really happens to me so naturally that it is almost as if it's an inner part of myself that just comes through. Although there is a subtle different feeling, it's very subtle, but I often say to my clients, please remember what I'm saying, because it's possible that afterwards you're going to have to ask me questions. I'm going to have to go back in. So when I say that, it is a kind of tuning in to be able to get a clear message of what is coming through for that person, or being able to ask a question if it's needed. Yeah.
So give us an example of how this works when you're in a live client situation, obviously without breaching any
Okay.
confidentiality, but how
Of
does it
course.
work? What sort of stuff comes through for you when you're working with someone?
All right. I'm actually going to share with you my very first experience when I spoke out about something. And it probably goes to show how actually ignorant I was. I remember I was actually working in the corporate world back in those days, and I had an office where it was on the ground floor, and somebody was coming to visit somebody in the building. And this person walked past the window, and as he walked past, I saw a young child with him. And he walked past my desk, and I said to him, "Oh, who's the little girl with you?" And he said to me, "Oh, that's my sister. She died when she was 5," or whatever the case. So I said, "Oh, okay." And off he went, like it was the most natural thing in the world. There was no message for him. It was just something that I had seen. So it was quite weird. And I guess I had to, afterwards, as I went forward in my journey, just kind of make sure that I was being appropriate, because he was very cool with it, but somebody else probably wouldn't be. So, yes. I must say that you asked for an example of how and where it could help somebody. So, when spirit moves on and they do come through in a session, it's very comforting for that person to know that the physical may have transcended, but the essence remains somewhere. And I think that brings a lot of comfort to people.
Well, I'd say that's a very interesting area to be working in.
Mm,
So for
yeah,
people that are dealing with grief or having
sure.
lost somebody close to them, I mean, that would
Mm,
be an incredibly valuable service, I would imagine.
sure. I don't necessarily work in that field. for me, I don't filter what comes through. So I always just ask that what needs to come through to help whoever I'm helping comes through in whatever way is, will be acceptable for them. So, kind of with years, you get maturity and you also sort of realize, okay, I need to not come from a shock tactic, but rather from a space where what I'm bringing through is it of benefit? So I don't withhold, but I do find that sometimes I need to bring through something in a way that that person in front of me will find it acceptable or rather understandable is probably a better way to put that. Yes.
That's brilliant. And for people watching this, that are obviously might be blown away with this sort of skill set because it does sound part coach, part psychic, which I guess it actually is, that you're communicating in
Yeah.
many respects with the other side and bridging that gap, which it feels
Mm.
that it is that you're doing. So for people
Mm.
that don't have that skill, what practical advice would you give them based on what you're seeing in the world at the moment that they can take right now and implement in their own life that's going to make their life better?
I think that many people are stuck in their headspace, sort of chopped off over here. And one of the quickest ways to really access your own sense of knowing is to start paying attention to what your body is telling you. We call it, embodying, and that literally means taking the focus because what you focus on is what comes alive in your life, right? So if it's going to be a thought and you're going to be on that loop, you're going to be stuck in your head. Otherwise, certainly take the attention to the body because many people will tell you, well, I've had this feeling kind of maybe in my solar plexus or wherever it may be, but there is a message there. And when you focus on that, you don't have to fix anything. There's nothing broken. But when you focus on the discomfort, it brings ease. So I always say to people, your body is like a satellite dish. It kind of guides you in the direction that you need to go, and your inner compass will help you along that journey. So embodying, absolutely. Mm.
So I guess from a practical point of view, it's just close your eyes, focus inside your body and notice where the energy is maybe blocked,
Yes.
low, and ask what message it has.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we all know about mindfulness, and really that's what it is. It's taking the intention to a different place and just listening. And initially, yes, it could be a bit frustrating because you could be sort of like, well, I'm focusing on my body and nothing is happening. It does take time because we need to quieten this thing. If one has been in the habit of being in the mind a lot, that mind is still on that loop and it takes a while for it to get the message, oh, I'm not getting attention anymore. So that your real tool, which is the sentient being, can do what it's supposed to do, which is to sense. And, kind of going into the fifth dimension, which is, I think, a talk that a lot of people in that space talk about. That's really what it's about. It's dropping from the mind, the masculine, into the divine feminine. So yes.
So, for people watching this, if you've got an
Yeah.
ache or a movement or something stuck in your body, to go in there and ask, what is this really about? And they'll either get an answer or they'll need to go to you to help unlock it, Dashi.
Well,
So
yes
that's
and no. I think that I would actually like to say to people, if you're wanting a process, by all means, use your breath to follow that into the body. But I wouldn't necessarily say, what is this ache or this pain trying to teach me? What I would rather say is, who is the one who's watching? Because that's the field that I really like to spend time in. What are you actually? You know? But I think that would be a talk for another day.
I think that might be a step too far for this for this one now, Dashi. But needless to say
Definitely.
that you can help people if they're lost or confused or stuck or facing
Certainly.
energetic or internal incongruence.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. So for people who are watching this that are curious to find out more, how do they get in touch with you or how do they follow you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn on Dagmar Hudek, which is my birth name, my full name, and then on holistique.coza. So yes.
Fantastic. Well, I shall put links to these in the
Okay,
description of the
thank
video
you.
for anyone that's interested in finding out more about Dashi. And from my conversations with her, longer ones outside of this, I definitely recommend that you get in touch with her and you'll for sure have an interesting time and get some great insights into where you're at.
Thank you, Adam. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it as always.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me today, Dashi.
Thank you again.